How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Software Inc., welcome back to Hard Mode, and welcome back to Nerdrosoft. I think it's safe to say that we are preparing for what could be a hugely successful period of time for this company. It could also be a complete disaster and a total disappointment. So let's dive into it. Let's take a look at what's going on, and let's get ready for 2006, when we are going to be releasing at least one video game. And the reason I say at least one video game is because thus far we have seen Roller Coaster World brought forward from, I believe, February 2007 to July of 2006. Now, at the moment, our shooter game, our first-person shooter, Hell Fortress, is scheduled for July of 2007, and it seems to be going quite nicely. It is scheduled for beta in January of 2007, and then our strategy game, Commander Stampy Face, is scheduled for beta in February of 2007. I have a feeling that both of those are going to get brought forward, and there's a chance, a small chance, but a chance, that we might see Nerdrosoft releasing 3 separate video games in 2006. In fact, the print job for Hell Fortress just finished, which means that yes, Hell Fortress has been brought forward from, what was it, July? I just said it, from middle of 2007 to September this year, September of 2006. So I'm quite confident in saying Commander Stampy Face might be a 2006 release, which makes this one of our biggest years yet. Because if we look at our releases, we will need to look at the archives, but I don't think there's been a single year we've released more than 2 things. We released Soundscape and Morph 3 in 2002, and going down the list, there is no other year where we have released more than 2 things. So we have 3 games going out this year, and as they go out, I'm going to do something a little bit weird. I'm actually going to be pausing and cancelling the project management tasks for Roller Coaster and for Commander Stampy Face and for Hell Fortress, and then we'll manually handle the supports through the support team and the marketing through the marketing team, because I want to change up how we're doing project management. But we'll talk a little bit about that more in a little bit, because obviously we have to get the things released first. So while we're waiting on that going on, let's go ahead and take a look at this update for Bucket Red, which has been finished. And I actually figured between this episode and the last, it might not be a bad idea to schedule a couple of updates for those things, because I do want to update Soundscape as well. We want to bring that up to tech level 2002, which we can now do with Bucket Red, and we can go ahead and say that we have the audio team, or rather the 2D team, working to bring that up to scratch right there, and we'll source control this on the source, of course, and get these guys working on the Soundscape update. And the reason I'm doing this, the reason I want to make sure my software is up to date, is because when these games come out, they are going to be horribly outdated in terms of their tech level. They're also going to need ported to other platforms. So if I can make sure that my own software, my own 2D editor in Bucket, my own 3D editor in Morph, and my own audio tool in Soundscape, if I can make sure that they're good, then frankly, we're in a situation where we don't have to pay licensing fees and royalties to other companies for using their tools in our games. So that's why we want to make sure these things are all updated, which, as soon as that last bug is done, there we go, we have managed to do. So, what we can now do is go and take a look at Bucket Red, for example, and see if it needs ported to anything. And I'm not going to have everybody do this, that seems a little bit silly, but we will get the fixers and the other guys working on it, and there actually isn't anything for it to go to. Morph 3 might be a similar story. It is a similar story. Soundscape might be a similar story, and it is a similar story. And Roller Coaster 3D Online. We could We could update that, although we are releasing another one in a couple of months. So what if we were to port the old Roaster Coaster to PocketNet and iStation just before the new one comes out? We bring the old Roaster Coaster back just for a little bit, just to hype people up on these new systems, and then eventually we bring Roaster Coaster World to everybody in July of 2006. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to pay very close attention to who releases the best game. Because keep in mind, these are 3 separate projects. So we have Janice Taylor leading Roaster Coaster. We have Joe Morrison leading Commander Stampy Face. And we have Sophia Coleman leading the Hell Fortress project. So we want to see who does a good job because, well, I suppose now is as good a time as any to talk about the changes to project management that I want to do. Essentially, we're going to condense these 3 projects, or these 3 project management tasks, into a single project management task that has all 3 intellectual properties assigned to it. So there'll be one games task which has the Roaster Coaster franchise, it has the Hell Fortress franchise, and it has the Commander Stabby Face franchise in there. And the reason I'm doing this is for a couple of reasons. It's something I want to experiment with because it is different to what I've done before. But I also saw a comment on the previous episode of the series from a community member whose username is DSYKX, and I thought this comment raised a really good point. I completely agree with a lot of it, and essentially the comment says that because I can set multiple IPs, you can have a project leader that will work on all of them separately. DS, as I will call them, said that they find it's easier to organize and keep the sidebar less cluttered this way. You can name the task something like games, and that's it. Even if you assign 6 IPs, it will still release at a schedule that won't let your fans down. Another reason they think this will be suitable is how it will reduce stress on my teams. I've gone for the specialization model, and thus having 6 project management tasks will increase employee stress as they're working on 6 tasks at the same time. And this is true. This is a very, very valid point. Because if we go and look at Roaster Coaster, we have the systems team in here, for example. Now, we don't have that problem when it comes to Commander Stabby Face and Hell Fortress because they are the Game Dev 1 and Game Dev 2 teams. But then if we look at Soundscape, we have the systems team working on Soundscape. We also have them working on Bucket Green and Morph 4. So the systems team is working on 4 separate things. Now, admittedly, at different stages. There's 2 projects that are developing, and there's 2 projects that are designing, so it's not too crazy. But if I was to go ahead and assign them to more things, they're going to get more and more stressed, and that ruins their efficiency. And we are seeing some complaints. You know, we are seeing that employees can't find somewhere to sit or find food or find a toilet or having their social needs met. But we're also seeing situations where employees are stressed from working long days and sometimes too many tasks. So condensing the 3 separate game-related projects into a single one, well, what I'm thinking is that it should create a little system, and I mean, we can see it right here. They can be designing something and developing something at the same time, so we can have a regular release schedule for games out of Nerdresoft, rather than what I suspect we're probably going to see, which is Roaster Coaster World going out in July. We have good old Hell Fortress in September, and then probably Commander Stabby Face in, like, January. So, essentially, we're going to have all of these games going out within 6 months of each other, and then nothing for years. Whereas I think the point of this comment and what we can do with project management is I think we can create a system where we have games going out every other year rather than just 1 game, or 3 games every, say, 3 to 4 years. I feel like a more steady sort of release schedule makes sense. I don't know if it does. I don't actually know if this will work, but that's my thinking for what we're doing here. So hopefully that makes sense. I thought that was a really good comment. I thought it raised some really good points, and I'm really curious to try it out, because what we've got right now with this on the right side of the screen is what I always do. It's what I've always done in Software Inc. for the last 7 years that I've been playing this game. So let's change it up a little bit. Let's get a bit creative. Let's see if this comment is right, which I have a feeling it probably will be. But before we do that, we need to release these 3 softwares, these 3 games. So let's get to July and release Roaster Coaster World. Or let's get to May of 2006 and get the news that the print job for Commander Stabby Face has been finished, which means that Commander Stabby Face is now releasing in December of 2006. So my theory was completely correct. We now have Roaster Coaster World in July of 2006. We have Hell Fortress in September of 2006, and Commander Stabby Face in December of 2006. So now let's get to July and let's check out Roaster Coaster World, which is going to release to the world on a rather wet and stormy summer's day, but that's okay. We are going to pause before we deal with everything we have to deal with here, because there are some things we have to do before I let the game continue. First and foremost, we're going to check our releases and see that Roaster Coaster World is great. It's inspiring and has prominent marketing, which is fantastic news. Now, what I want to do immediately is I want to update this. Network, 2004. Audio, 2003. Oh, well, that complicates things. We only have 2002 for Soundscape, so we're going to be a little bit limited there. The 3D editor in this case will be Morph 3, which can bring us up to 2003. Our 2D editor is going to be Bucket Red, which is 2002. So we can get some of this to be good. Some of it's going to not quite be as good as it could be, but that's fine. And then in terms of teams for this, it's going to be the fixers, it's going to be the other guys, but it's also going to be 2D, 3D audio, systems, and network, because we want this update done as quickly as it can be done. So we'll get that update going out, and then we'll go ahead and start printing some copies of this with a maximum of, let's say, 100,000 units per month. So that will always be in stock, no matter what happens. And then the next thing we need to do is go to the Roaster Coaster project, where they are now designing Roaster Coaster World 2, which is next phase, July 2007, aiming for a release in June 2009. So we can assume it would probably be brought forward to 2008. So every 2 years, honestly, isn't that bad. It isn't. It really isn't that bad. But this isn't how I want to do things. So we are going to quite simply cancel the Roaster Coaster World project, move marketing to the top, priority 10, and give it a budget of about, let's say, $80,000 for marketing, and they can focus on that. As for support, it can go right in here, and we'll say that support for Roaster Coaster World is a top priority, whereas Vapor a little bit less so, despite having 11.8 million active users. So now that all of that is done and out of the way, we can run the game again, and now we get to see how Roaster Coaster World does in terms of profits. I also forgot that we probably want to port this. So let's make sure these guys are doing it, and let's go for active users. And I'm going to say anything with 100,000 active users, we are going to port Roaster Coaster World 2. And we're going to make that a priority. So now the game's running at full speed. We can see, is it going to make money? It's doing $248,000. That's actually nowhere near as much as I was hoping for, but it's okay. I'm not too worried about it. We'll go ahead and take these print jobs as well. That's a lot of copies. It's about 1 million, but I've got about a year to do it, so we can do that. No problem at all. That'll keep our business reputation going. That'll keep our deals money coming in. And hopefully my marketing teams can do good and get the word about Roaster Coaster World out to everybody. Hopefully my updates can be done here. We'll make that a top priority as well, so it gets done as quickly as possible. And hopefully the porting gets done in no time as well. But what we have to do now is sit back, take a moment, grab a sip of coffee, tea, or your beverage of choice, and we're going to wait until September when we're going to be taking a look at Hell Fortress, which is going to release on a relatively clear and beautiful September's day. And once again, we'll pause the game to deal with everything that we need to deal with. This time around, we'll take a look at it. It's great. It's inspiring. Marketing is sparse this time, which is a bit of a worry. But what we can do is we can update this to all of the modern tech levels. And I'm pretty sure this time the 2D editor can be Bucket Red, which is fine. The 3D editor can be Morph 3. And the audio tool can be Soundscape, because I did manage to update Soundscape to tech level 2003. So we're using all of our own things. And what we'll do is put all of our teams on this update to make sure that it gets done. So we'll get that going. We can go ahead and start printing, and we'll do another 100,000 copies right about there, so we don't go crazy with it. And then we need to take a look at the, well, actually, no, we need to look at the porting, don't we? We need to make sure it's on all modern systems. So fixers and other guys can do that. It's going to be all of these systems right here, which is fine by me. And they are going to be very busy with all of this porting for a while, but that's okay. I'm not really too worried about it. And now we take a look at the shooter game project. We can see what they were planning. June 2007 for the next phase, January 2009 for the release. So again, probably brought forward to say March 2008. So again, it would be 2 years from now Hell Fortress 2 goes out, but I want to try this other system. So what we're going to do is we're going to cancel Hell Fortress project. We'll move marketing up to the top right here, give them a budget of $80,000, and then we can go for support, move it up to here, and make sure it's a top priority as well. And we let the game run. And hopefully we can see this Hell Fortress update get done in no time at all. I'm not really expecting it to be done this month, but that's okay. The only thing I'm really concerned about is how much money we're potentially going to make or not make with these releases, because we are not making all that much money at the moment. Sales for NerdResoft are less than $4 million per month, which is kind of miserable. Now, fortunately, we are seeing Roaster Coaster World pick up a little bit. It's doing about $500,000 every 2 weeks, so about $1 million a month. And Hell Fortress came in at about $360,000, which is, I think, respectable. So both of those should continue to grow, but I'm hoping that they will grow quickly and that we'll see profits start to really roll in. But of course, the next thing we have to do before we can take the next step with this company is wait until December, when we're going to be releasing Commander Stabby Face, which is apparently going to be releasing on a very cold, chilly, and snowy December's day. So once again, for the third time, let's pause the game and take a look at it. It is outstanding. Now that's a new one. That I wasn't expecting that. Marketing is sparse, but Commander Stabby Face is outstanding, as it should be, quite frankly. Now let's go ahead and update absolutely everything that we have right here. Let's get a 2D editor for, well, which is going to be Bucket Red. 3D is going to be Morph 3, and audio is going to be Soundscape. And then we'll throw everyone at this. Audio, 2D, network, systems, and it's going to be that simple. We'll try and get this update done as quickly as we can. In terms of porting, similar story. It's going to go to all of those operating systems, which is going to take forever, but that's fine. And in terms of printing, it's going to be another very comfortable maximum of 100,000 copies. So we'll always have that in stock. And now what we can do is cancel that project. Support can go to here, and we can keep that as a nice priority. Marketing can go to here and have a budget of $80,000. And then hopefully marketing can sort of turn this into something good. Hopefully they can do good for us right there. Now, what we can do is run the game and just see how things go. We can see if Commander Stabby Face happens to make a decent amount of money. I would like to bring... I would like to get some attention to these port jobs, though, to see if we can do them a little bit quicker, because it is taking quite a while to do any of this. So let's see what happens if we assign 2D, 3D, audio, network, just everybody. Well, actually, no, let's not do that. Let's just assign the game devs to this, because the game devs at this stage aren't doing anything else. So we can have the game devs work to port all of these games to different platforms, and hopefully that speeds it up really nicely, and we actually see sales increase really nicely as well. Now, looking at it, we have the fire inspector coming in quite soon. But looking at it, we are above 1 million on Roller Coaster World and Hell Fortress. Commander Stabby Face, a little bit disappointing out the gate, but we'll see how that ends up going. And the Commander Stabby Face update is coming along quite nicely as well. But what I would like to do is I'd like to deal with this deal first. So hosting goes on the host, that's fine. I want to go and see who was the project leader for Commander Stabby Face. If it's going to tell me, I'm not 100% sure it will. The designer was Annie Kelly, which is interesting. I don't know if I actually assigned you to lead this or not, but apparently it was Annie Kelly. Lead designer was Annie Kelly. Okay. Well, that's not bad at all. Your portfolio is Commander Stabby Face. It was outstanding, so I'm quite happy with that. So what I'm going to do, the reason I wanted to know that is because we're going to go to project management, and we're going to call it, quite simply, games. And the leader will be, well, apparently it won't be Annie Kelly. I don't remember who was necessary. I think Sophia Coleman? No, I think Joe Morrison. Yeah, Joe Morrison was leading the Commander Stabby Face project. I think. I actually don't know who was leading it. I can't remember if it was Joe or Sophia. Oh, I really don't know. Can we have a look at Commander Stabby Face and see who worked on it? Does it tell me that? Does it tell me what teams were working on this thing? I don't think it will. Find owner, lead designer, update, print, competition, income, units. No, I don't think it is going to tell me. It's just the lead designer was apparently Annie Kelly. I suppose we can see what team Annie Kelly was a part of, right? That would be a way to do it. So if I look at my my employees and I sort by name, we have 3 people called Adolf. Fair enough. All right. Okay. Well, fair. I'm not judging. What team are you a part of? You are Game Dev 2. I don't know who was doing. I think Game Dev 2 was Hell Fortress. Boy. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So that would be Joe Morrison. Okay, yeah, Joe Morrison can lead this. But what we're going to do is say that Game Dev 1 and Game Dev 2 are going to be designing this stuff. They're going to be developing this stuff. And the secondary dev teams, the design phase is usually shorter than the implementation phase, but you can use a secondary development team to run projects in parallel and pick up any slack. We're not going to do any of that, because I don't know that we necessarily need to. Support is just going to be support. Pre-marketing is marketing. Post-marketing is marketing. Update teams will be the fixers and the other guys. Although I don't know that that's necessarily going to work, because I don't know that they have level 3 of what we need, but we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Source control is, of course, the source. Prototype software, though, is going to be an interesting one. I want these 3 softwares to be our prototypes. So in theory, they're going to make sequels to all of those. Or, well, I don't know that I want them making a sequel to Roller Coaster World called Roller Coaster World 2, but we'll give it a shot. We'll stick with what we're doing here and keep it simple. It's going to go in the host, and then all of this stuff is, you know, the standard stuff that we're looking for. Updates, update tech levels. Updates are every 3 months. Duration is, say, 2 years, I guess, of support for these things. Maybe 3 years of support. It doesn't really matter too much. And we're not going to stick to a single IP. We can sort of let them branch out, use own licenses when possible, handle marketing, of course, and print jobs will be, let's just say 250,000 units for the print jobs. And if I hit OK on that, and we look at this, I'm not sure if they're necessarily just going to grab something, or if I have to assign a sequel to that particular project. So So we might, I might be an idiot, quite frankly. I don't know if they will just start working on something or if I have to tell them to keep working on it, but we'll give them a little bit to figure that out. In fact, right there, they've got some updates going for Hell Fortress and Roaster Coaster Worlds, and I'm updating Commander Stampy Face, so they're not doing that. But that's actually good. That's what we want. We want these guys doing that, so they're automatically working on the prototype software in terms of updates. And then in terms of sequels, whether the leader should only create sequels to past projects rather than creating new IP. So we do really only want them working on sequels. And I almost wonder if I do have to assign them the task. So let's, I guess, do that. I suppose? Because, I mean, there's no projects here. So if I go and say, you know, go to my releases and go to Roaster Coaster World and start making a sequel, we can hopefully do something good here. So in terms of the, in terms of what we're doing here, we'll use Roaster as the framework, and the tech levels are horribly outdated, so we're not actually going to worry too much about it. We might have to make a new framework, to be quite honest, but we'll just do this. So Roaster Coaster World, we're probably going to rename this. I don't really want to do Roaster Coaster World 2. But what we'll do in terms of features is, I mean, it doesn't really matter. We'll do recorded dialogue as the new thing, right? We'll go for that. Or we could go open world or facial animations. I don't know that it really matters. We'll do facial animations as well. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, this will be this will be okay. I don't know if I can call it Roaster Coaster. I can call it Roaster Coaster World 2, but I don't know if I can call it Roaster Coaster because the original one is right here. Unless we call it Roaster Coaster 4. We could do that. We could argue, you know, this was 1, this is 2, this is 3, which is conveniently 3D online. Online could be like a subtitle. We could say Roaster Coaster World was like a spin-off of Roaster Coaster 3D. I don't know why it would be a spin-off. You know, maybe it's one that has like theme parks all around the world rather than just one setting like the previous 3. And then we come back with a main entry to the franchise in the form of Roaster Coaster 4. I think that's what we do. We'll just we'll just do it this way, and that's fine. It's going to run on the host. It's going to be source controlled on the source, and everything else is going to be relatively simple. So looking at releases, we're going to do Bucket Red. We're going to do good old Morph 3 right there. We do have Tech Level 2005 that we could play with. Oof. I'm tempted to update Morph, but I'm not going to. And we'll go for Soundscape as well. Operating systems, sort by releases. This guy's just come out. This guy, 3.2 million active users. Let's sort by active users, I think. Let's do it that way. We'll go for these guys right about there. And we can... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go for every system that I can that has more than 100,000 users, which is probably silly because it's going to take forever to develop this thing. But I think releasing on those systems might be a good idea. In terms of next, we'll auto balance, and in terms of next, honestly, project manage games. So now they have Roaster Coaster 4, which is in its design phase, and that's okay. But what I want to do is give them other things, right? I want to give them Hell Fortress 2. I want to give them Commander Stabby Face 2. So the same idea applies. We want to start making a sequel to Hell Fortress, and this one is multiplayer. It has, say, recorded dialogue this time, and I don't care about that. It's got cutscenes as well. We'll give it post-processing, and that's fine. We'll give it physics. We'll make this thing good. We'll really go all in on Hell Fortress 2. Pretty similar setup. Server is actually going to be the host, and source is the source. Frameworks, I mean, I don't know that frameworks really matter. Hell's Gate is the framework right here. Approximately 2 years is actually pretty good. So sure, we can go for this, and that's fine. So Hell Fortress 2. Same setup for the editors, and a similar setup for the operating systems. Anything with over 100,000 active users, we can go and put it on that. And this guy is going to be project managed under games. So now, if we look at this, these guys are both queued. I'm curious to see if it'll just assign one at a time. And then, of course, we want to go and get good old Commander Stabby Face 2 in progress. So let's go and start a sequel for Commander Stabby Face 2, which I feel like we should probably rename. Commander Stabby Face is a bit of a lengthy title. I don't know that I love it, but you know what? We'll stick with it for now. It's probably fine. The framework on this guy can be Commander, and the tech levels are going to have to come up on a few of these guys, but that's okay. It is an RTS game, so we don't need to go too crazy with this, but we'll do facial animations, I think, as a thing. We'll do recorded dialogue as a thing, and that's about all we'll do there. Server is the host, source is the source. The tools are the tools, the operating systems, again, similar story. Approximately 2 years of development, 7 million potential consumers. Auto balance this guy, still 54% wasted interest, but honestly, that's okay. Let's project manage for games, and we just get to see what happens, really. We're going to see what these guys decide to do in terms of their projects. Now, what's also kind of cool is that we can take a look and we can see that these guys are managing to get some updates sorted for all of the games that we've put out so far. We've actually got an update in progress for Commander Stabby Face. So that's kind of cool, which says to me that essentially, if I was to go and make a... Actually, if I wonder... I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna call this project the updates project, and I'm gonna say that Sophia Coleman can lead this, which it doesn't really matter who leads it. We could say, you know, Janice Taylor as well, but we'll do Sophia Coleman. I'm not gonna do any design teams, and I'm not gonna do any development teams. I'm not gonna do secondary dev teams, and I'm going to do actually no support teams either. I don't need marketing. All I need are update teams. So I just need the fixers and the other guys. We don't need marketing here either, because what I'm thinking I can do is go to prototype software. Oh, I can't do that. Damn. Okay. I was hoping I could do this. I was hoping this would... Well, I can do it with Soundscape, actually, which is interesting. So Soundscape... What I'm thinking is if I use Soundscape as a prototype, I can use this as a way to update it, right? Development isn't going to be a thing. We're not making anything new, but I have got the fixers and the other guys who can essentially handle the updates and update the tech levels, and we can say do that for the next 2 years. So I wonder if that'll work. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure why I can't necessarily say that my other softwares can be or can't be used here, but I mean, I wonder if I was to say that the update teams, let's select everybody for a second. No, I still can't do it. Okay, so that's nothing to do with it, which is fine. So we'll just say the fixers and the other guys can work on keeping Soundscape up to date, I suppose. And note, you can also add new projects from the design document window. I don't know if this will necessarily work, but we'll give it a shot and we'll take a look at it and see if they actually do start working on an update for Soundscape. It'd be nice if they did. It'd be nice if that was sort of a thing that it just automatically did, where it just starts, you know, dumping out the updates there. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not too sure if it actually will work the way I'd like it to, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't necessarily go perfectly. And then looking into this guy, this is all in design. That's fine. That's honestly completely okay by me. And these guys, yeah, there's nothing really going on there. That's okay. We'll just, I suppose, pay attention to it and see if anything does happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's whatever. Now, while all of that's going on, we should probably take a look at Soundscape 2, which is ready to go into beta. So let's take a look at all companies, or rather event calendar and see what's coming out in December. Do we have an audio tool? We actually don't. We don't have one in November. We don't have one in October. We don't have one in May, and we don't have one at all this year. So let's say that Soundscape is going to be December of 2007. We'll give it a few months of marketing, nothing too crazy, but that's okay. We can go ahead and put out a press release, of course. We can go ahead and put out a press build, and we can start to hype this as well, which is hopefully going to work out quite nicely for us, and we can promote it into beta to make sure that it ends up actually being quite good. We also have Bucket Green finally entering its development phase, and Morph 4 also entering its development phase. So we'll see how all of that ends up going for us. I'm hoping for some good things there. I'm hoping that we see, tremendous success with Soundscape 2. There's a little bit of hype behind it as well, which is lovely. And looking at this guy, everything is still just queued. These updates are still being worked on, and interestingly, not necessarily being released, which is a bit odd. Update cycle, how often to release updates in months is 3, so we should see some updates go out, which is probably fair enough. How long after release to continue releasing updates? I haven't looked at the comments that I, on the episodes where I asked about this. I'm wondering if I might have this wrong. You know what? We'll pay attention. When did... Oh boy. Oh, we're probably fine. It's probably nothing. Oh, no, I did have it right. Right here, we can see update 0%. They've put out some updates. So every 3 months for the next 3 years, they're going to be working to update everything, which is perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So no worries right there. These guys are still doing absolutely nothing, which is totally fine. It's not the end of the world. I'm actually... we're not making as much money as I would have liked. I'll be quite honest. I'm not thrilled that we're not making anywhere near as much money as I was hoping for, but we are making something, which I guess is fair enough. I guess we have that going for us. And Soundscape 2, it's going to go out this year. We've got games that'll be getting worked on eventually. It's it's a whole thing. I don't know. I don't know if Nerdrosoft is quite as successful this time around, and that's weird because I mean I'm used to playing Software Inc. and you get to this stage of the game, you get to 2007, and you're making just hundreds of millions of dollars. You end up with a $2 billion company. This time around, though, that's not what's happening, and that is so strange to me. It's really, really strange not having a company that's just taking over the world, because if we look at all the other companies, I mean, we're here. We're actually the 5th most valuable company, which is interesting, actually. We're the 3rd most valuable in terms of bank balance. Wow, okay, we might actually be doing okay in that sense. We are worth a fair bit. It'd be nice as well to get my, I need to buy these guys out. I might do that, actually. I might buy out the estates of Bella and Bob there, and just, give them $90 million, and, I mean, that'd be a nice bonus, wouldn't it? You form a company, you keep working there, the company gives you $90 million, so you'll, not, I don't know, I can't remember in the last series what happened when they quit. I can't remember if they took, I don't think they do take a percentage with them, do they? It's just the estate continues to own a part of the company, even if the founder retires. So, I don't know, I guess it's not the end of the world. So I think what I'm going to do is change our updates project to tools, and I'm going to say that we, I suppose, go in and assign 3D audio systems network and I suppose 2D to that project. I'm gonna, now hold on a minute, I don't want to make something new, which is unfortunately what has just happened here. We're gonna cancel that, and we're gonna say only sequels, because that way we are only ever going to make a sequel to Soundscape. In this case, it'll be Soundscape 3 because we're currently working on 2 away from this project. We'll say update duration can be 36, and the update cycle this time can be 4. So 3 updates a year for 3 years. We'll hype it, single IP, no post-marketing, handle marketing, and support, and print job copies will be 150,000. So essentially, we're going to pivot towards an actual development project right here. And hopefully, in doing this, we can start to get Morph and Soundscape and Bucket into this particular fold. Although Bucket, to be quite honest, I'm not going to do as a project until we've got Bucket Blue done, because the whole idea with Bucket is that we have red, green, and blue RGB as standalone releases, and then we'll probably do Bucket 4 or Bucket 5, whatever the number would be on that. So we'll see how it goes. We can, I suppose, just allow this to continue. And now the prototype is Soundscape, and hopefully once Soundscape 2 goes out in December, we'll see them start to work on a Soundscape 3, and that's okay by me. The games team, the games project, is currently designing Roaster Coaster 4 with an estimated release date of August 2010. Now, what I'm thinking is going to happen here, or at least what I'm hoping is going to happen here, is we will see, I suppose, Hell Fortress remain queued until Roaster Coaster 4 goes into its development phase, at least hopefully. That's kind of what I'm looking for there. We'll see if that ends up being the case, but it's certainly what I would hope would be the case. And then when it comes to these guys, like I mentioned, it's hopefully going to be a case of them just working on Soundscape, and if I can find a way to add Morph to this, that would be nice as well. Although again, for some reason, it doesn't necessarily want to let me do that. So we'll not worry too much about that. Maybe Morph has to be, I don't know, maybe it has to be in beta or something like that. Or we just have to add, start creating a sequel and add it to this project and see how that ends up going for us. But let's take a look at Soundscape 2, I guess, and see how it does in December, which is once again going to be cold, snowy, and quite nice out here. Regardless, let's take a look at Soundscape 2, and let's start printing this with a maximum of 150,000 units. Kind of annoying that I forgot to do this, I'm not going to lie. We do have a good chunk in storage, though, so we should be okay there. But now we'll just go ahead and release Soundscape 2, and is it any good? We're going to start with 5 stars. We're going to go to 3 stars and 5 stars. I'll absolutely take that. Marketing campaign is $80,000. We'll go ahead and move that marketing campaign right up to the top. It is going to be a priority over Roaster Coaster World. In fact, it's going to be the only priority in terms of marketing. And then in terms of support, we'll put it right there beneath Commander Stabby Face, and we can hope for the best. Now, what I'm looking for is that you, right in here, will use Soundscape 2 as your prototype, and I'm really hoping we maybe see a project kick off here where these guys might start looking at, well, they might start working on something, they might start working on support tasks, I don't really know. I'll be honest, I don't really know what's going to happen with this, but I'm hoping that Soundscape 2 is going to be good. It is outstanding, it is inspiring, marketing is sparse, and it probably needs to go to a few other systems as well, doesn't it? It absolutely does. But it should be okay. We can bring the 2D up to date, we can bring the audio up to date, we can bring the systems up to date. In fact, the 2D, oh man, that means we need to update Bucket Rad, don't we? Alright, well, let's get that done as quickly as we can. It's going to be the fixers, it's going to be these guys, and it's going to be systems. So we'll hit that with an update, we will prioritize it. And then for Soundscape, I guess what we'll do is bring the systems and the audio, and the 2D can come up to 2002, I'm pretty sure. Yep, it absolutely can. So that should be fine. So systems, 2D, and audio can work on that. And hopefully we'll see some money come in from Soundscape 2, currently minus $80,000. Is it going to go anywhere good? It's going to go to $1.5 million. Okay. Okay. that was a little unexpected. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting that at all. But sure, I'll take it. Now I'm wondering, so you've got some development teams in here. I wonder if you need more design points before you can start working on potentially Soundscape 3. I'm not really too sure on that one. Ooh, now hold on a minute. If I go to here and I say morph, yes, hold on, I want to put morph in there. I almost want to do another antivirus. It did make money. You know what? Let's do it. Let's put our tools into that sort of space. Let's get Soundscape in there as well, of course. And so Soundscape 2, Morph 3, and Sniffer are all in there. They can all be worked on by these teams, and that's okay. So we can see how that goes, I guess. I'm not really sure what they're necessarily going to work on, but I'm curious to see if perhaps they start working on anything. Because they could, right? They can auto-develop, which I don't want you to come up with new products necessarily. I want you to only do sequels to this stuff. Unless I have to throw the project. Again, I don't know if I have to throw the projects at them. What if I let me turn on auto-development and see what happens. Nothing so far. You know what? We'll just leave this be. We'll let the design points tick up and maybe that'll help it a little bit. Oh, so I turned on auto development and we have queued up Sniffer 2, which is just in a queue. It's not something they're actively working on here, but that in itself is a little bit exciting. That means that I guess we are actively developing sequels to Sniffer and Morph and Soundscape. And now the only thing that we're releasing that isn't handled by project management is the Bucket franchise. Which, I've got to be honest, that's kind of cool. Like, this feels like a level above... Ooh, has the game crashed? No, we're good. This feels like a level above the automation that I've done previously. So that's... I like that. I like that a lot. This right here, I mean... I don't know exactly how the design is going to go for all of this. Like I said, I think it's going to be Roaster Coaster design and then Hell Fortress design as Roaster Coaster moves into development, but that's fine. This is in its queued phase, I guess. Once we get more design points, we can move it into the design phase. It's really cool. And honestly, this gets me to a place where I do think the actual next step for this company is going to have to be, I guess, going ahead and making hardware. We should probably make an operating system as well. That might not be a bad idea, but I'm definitely thinking hardware is somewhere in the future of the company. Now, let's finish this update for Soundscape 2, because I am curious to see if this project will take up the task of maintaining Soundscape, since it is one of the prototypes. Not really sure if it will, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. And again, with these guys, I mean, updates are going out. They're doing very well on the updates, actually. I don't think I can change priorities or anything, but they're doing good work, I think. But if we have a look at the numbers here, we should see some bugs getting fixed. And yeah, the bugs are getting fixed. The updates themselves are slow, but not the end of the world. Absolutely, absolutely not the end of the world. And then the tools, they are updating Soundscape, so that's perfect. This is working exactly how I wanted it to, so I don't need to keep Soundscape updated. I don't need to keep Sniffer or Morph updated necessarily, and I don't need to keep any of my games updated. It's all done automatically. And so just like that, Sniffer 2 is in its design phase. It'll go into alpha in November 2008. It's aiming for December 2009 for its release, which is a pretty big deal, because December 2008 is when Bucket Green is going to go out. And then Morph 4, honestly, it's coming along really nicely as well. Probably a mid-2008 release or 2009 release for Morph 4 before it goes into automation. And then Bucket Green is going to be followed by Bucket Blue. And at that point, once that is out, Bucket itself goes into automation as well. So we have a lot of exciting things going ahead with the company here. It is kind of weird. It is kind of weird, definitely. Now, I'm looking at my fixers and the other guys. I'm realizing that the more I use them as the update teams for projects, the more they're going to be overwhelmed, because essentially we've kind of dropped them in at the deep end a little bit here, because what we've done is obviously released 3 games within the span of 6 months, and then said that we're going to support those games for 3 years with updates every 3 months. So we've got 3 games to support every 3, for every 3 months for 3 years. It's a lot. That is a lot of things that we're asking the fixers to do. And then, of course, when it comes to tools, it's support for 3 years every 4 months. So they are releasing, what is that? That's 12, it's a lot. They're releasing a lot of updates. They're expected to update a lot of things all the time. So I think we're going to need more fixer teams, to be quite honest. I think we might want to get some teams, or we can split this up, I suppose. It doesn't really matter. We could get more fixer teams. We could get more update teams. We could say that the fixers do one thing and the other guys do another. But regardless, I think they are going to be the next bottleneck in the company. That's going to be the next group of employees that struggle to get things done because there's just so much to do. But that's okay. We'll manage. We're doing all right. We're making money. Commander Stabby Face has started to falter. $91,000 is not a lot, so we're going to end marketing there. Soundscape is still pulling $2.6 million a month, which is great. Roaster Coaster World doing okay. Hell Fortress doing okay. Looking at our releases, Soundscape has made a profit. Commander Stabby Face made a profit. Hell Fortress has made a profit. So it's not as if we're not making money. It's just that the things we've released recently haven't quite been as good as some of the stuff we put out before. But it's okay. We're up to almost $280 million. Looking at all of the companies in terms of worth, we're still 5th. In terms of bank, we are now 2nd, which is, again, interesting. It's interesting that RealtyNet or ReltNet has fallen a little bit there. That was the most, I guess, lucrative company that was going for a while there. So interesting that they've dropped down a little bit. They must have bought something recently, or they've done something that's caused them to lose a little bit of worth, but that's okay. They can do that. I'm sure they'll pop back up at some point. And I guess really we just need to rely on my project management teams and hope that they do good. Because if they don't, I'm going to be really annoyed. I'll be honest. I'll be quite annoyed if they start releasing flops. Now, before we go ahead and wrap things up for this episode, there is something I want to take a look at. It is currently coming up on the end of August 2008, which means that in September, next month, we should see Roaster Coaster 4 move into the alpha phase. And what I'm curious about is to see if that means that Hell Fortress 2 or Commander Stabby Face 2 will then move into an active design phase. Because if it does, that would be kind of cool, you know? And looking at it, actually, yes, Hell Fortress is in the design phase, and we are developing Roaster Coaster 4. The next phase is suspected to be February 2010 and releases August 2010, with July 2009 for the next phase on Hell Fortress 2, with May of 2011 for the release. So if we kind of maintain that pattern, then we might end up with more regular game releases. I don't really know if that is the case. I don't really know if that is what will actually happen, but at the very least, we have managed to have, I guess, one project handling 2 IPs at the same time and maintaining, I guess, a level of balance for the teams, right? So the designers on Game Dev 1 and Game Dev 2 are both active, they're all active, and the developers are all active as well, so that's good. It means that no one in either of those teams is going to be sitting around doing absolutely nothing, which is preferable to, them just sitting around doing absolutely nothing. So, looking at this, we are continuing to update Soundscape 2, and in November, we should see Sniffer 2 move into its alpha phase. So, that's another one where I'm curious to see what'll happen, because we have a couple of design points here. I'm wondering if maybe they start working on Soundscape 3, because I'm not designing it. Morph 4, admittedly, is still in development, so it's not going to be that. And actually, I want to prioritize Morph 4 and see if we can get that done sooner than later. And if we look at the event calendar for 2009, there is a 3D editor in May. There is, I suppose, an office software there. So let's aim for August. Let's start marketing Morph 4 as August 2009. And we can go ahead and start putting out, I guess, press releases. We can start doing press builds as well. And we can start hyping this to, make sure people are aware that it's a thing. We can put out press builds of Bucket Green as well to make sure people are excited about Bucket Green coming out in just a couple of months' time. Morph 4, actually, is ridiculous in terms of the number of fans that are interested in that one. So that's actually very, very exciting. So hopefully we see some good things come out of Morph 4. Hopefully we can start passing $300 million. And I think my goal for Nerdrosoft this time around, I'll be happy if we can get to be a $500 million company, a $500 million company. Because to be quite honest, I don't necessarily know that we're going to be a $1 billion company. I'm just not sure. We also have a bunch of print jobs coming through, and we have a few hosting jobs there as well that we can take. And that is helping us be a relatively reputable company, which is certainly what we want to be. And now looking at it, it is October, it's day 2 of 2 in October 2008. So next month we might see something else come out of this. We also have the press release for Morph done, so we'll put that out. And Morph is so close to going into beta. It's actually going to have a really nice lengthy beta period, which is hopefully going to mean a good number of bugs being fixed. We're at 451 on Bucket Green, so we have that going for us. And it is now very, very close to the end of October 2008. Let's see what happens. You go into alpha at some point today, I think. Maybe tomorrow, it's possible, I suppose. I've honestly got no idea how this kind of calculates when something goes into an alpha phase. I suppose it might be in the second half of November, which is exactly what happened. It was very, very late in the day in the second half of November that Sniffer 2 entered its alpha phase. It's now going to spend a considerable amount of time in its alpha phase, and it's aiming for December 2000. Ooh, that's a very short beta. That is a very short beta period right there. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's go ahead and get Bucket Green out the door. Since it is 513 bugs sorted, it's got a lot of fans, it's ready to go. Let's just see what happens here. It's going to be starting with 5 stars. It's going to get another 5 stars and 4. I wanted 5. I wanted 5s across the board, but I'll take 5, 5, and 4. We'll do the usual budget. We'll move this guy right up to the top, make it a top priority. Soundscape can come down to a 5. And support for Bucket Green is going to stay relatively standard because we are dealing with most of the tickets. But what I do want to do, that's developing, what I do want to do is get this guy updated as quickly as we can. So systems up to date, 2D up to date, and it's going to be the fixers, the other guys, 2D and systems. It's going to be on the source, and we need this to be a very, very quick update. So hopefully we can get this done today. If not today, then maybe tomorrow. It's possible to get it done today. I'm just not really expecting it, to be honest. I want this to be good. Marketing for this guy is prominent. It is outstanding. It is inspiring. We've also had a release every December for the last couple of years, which is great. I'm just hoping for goodness. I'm just hoping for something good. That's all I'm looking for on Bucket Green. And actually, thinking about it very quickly, let me just make sure that, can I add Bucket to this now? I can, but we don't want to do that. That's the thing. What we want to do, immediately start a sequel, and it's immediately Bucket Blue. And Bucket Blue, I guess we're just going to fill it out with, I don't know, drawing tablet support, or we could just do everything at this stage. It's going to take a very long time to develop, but we might as well max it out. It's going to be the last one that I design before it goes to project management. We'll set it to $69 because I can, and the framework is going to be new or existing. It doesn't really matter. I mean, we have NSBK right there, which, I mean, it's a bit outdated. Let's be honest. It's not very good. So we'll just bring this guy up to date, and it'll be a long development time, but that's okay. Next page, operating systems. I mean, release dates and all that will go, back to about there. So 4 operating systems. We'll auto balance this guy. And in terms of teams, it is just 2D and systems. So we don't need audio on this. We don't need audio there either. And Brian Griffin, who has done Bucket Red and Bucket Green so far, can go ahead and immediately start developing Bucket Blue. And here's hoping for the best on that, really. It doesn't have to go out anytime soon, but it's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal. I'm happy about that. I just want to see if it makes money at this stage. So minus $80,000, $1.8 million. We're really nicely on the path to making money now, I think. So I'm pleased about that. I'm very, very pleased about that. I'm also hoping these guys do, in fact, pick up another design project. It would be really nice if they could just pick up a little something in terms of a secondary project, because there are some designers now in all of these teams. Well, not all of them. Some of them are working on Bucket Blue, but there's a lot of designers sitting around just doing nothing right now. Oh, and there it is. They got a total of 3 design points and then used it all to put the Soundscape 3 project into the queue, which I guess we're going to need more design points to actually start designing Soundscape 3, but that is now automated as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So the tools project is working, the games project is working, and so essentially we have successfully automated a massive chunk of the company. And I mean, Bucket Green is turning tremendous amounts of money. Soundscape 2, tremendous amounts of money. A little bit disappointing, to be quite honest, that Commander Stampy Face is not turning all that much. Hell Fortress turned a little bit, and Roaster Coaster World honestly didn't turn as much as I would have liked either. It is, admittedly, I suppose, the second most profitable Roaster Coaster game, so it's kind of hard to be bad to that, I suppose. Especially when we consider the original Roaster Coaster was a flop. It's not too bad. It's also wild to think that Bucket and Bucket 2 both flopped, and then Bucket Red has turned $96 million in profit. So that's not bad. That is not bad at all. That's some good some good profits across the board for old Nerdrosoft. So I suppose we can go ahead and leave it there for today. I feel like, on one hand, we have not made all that much progress as a company because I haven't built anything today. I don't think I placed a single piece of furniture today, so a very wordy episode. I think that's probably a fair way to describe the last however long of Software Inc. But also, I think a relatively important episode for Nerdrosoft, because this change in project management, I think, is going to result in my employees being less stressed. I think it's going to keep them happier, and I think it kind of stresses the importance of me looking at the YouTube comments from time to time, so I'm going to make sure to keep doing that, and I'm going to make sure that once Bucket Blue goes out, it gets thrown into project management. We'll just have Bucket 5, 6, 7, and so on, keep going out there. And from that point, we can start looking towards other projects. We still have hardware to go into. And from there, we need to go into making our own operating systems, which I think is going to be very important to do as well, which could be automated, but I think that would be something we want to stay on top of ourselves. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.